Hello, my most amazing artists, and welcome back to week 3 of our Pop Art Onomatopoeias. So far during this project, we have sketched out a few different onomatopoeias to visually illustrate, and last week we should have chosen just one onomatopoeia to sketch out and be our final onomatopoeia for this project. Today we get to work on the background that our letters are going to actually sit on. And for that background, we are going to create a collage. In art, a collage could be a bunch of different things. For us, we are just going to take a bunch of different magazine pieces of paper, possibly newspaper if you have that, old books, whatever you have at home, and we're gonna rip them up and we're just going to arrange them on another piece of paper to create our collage. So a collage is a collection of different papers and materials that are cut or ripped and glued together to create a new image. To make our collage background, you will need some newspaper, possibly a magazine if you have that, old books. Make sure you check with an adult in your household though before you just start taking books and ripping the pages out or any magazines. So definitely ask permission before you start doing this. If you can't find any books or magazines or newspaper around your house, then I recommend just using regular old notebook paper. You will also need another piece of paper to do your collage on, and that's just a regular white piece of paper. And the last material that you will need is some glue. I am very excited to create this background with you guys, so let's go ahead and get started. The first step in creating the background for our Pop Art Onomatopoeias is to find possibly some old magazines. My magazines have been ripped to shreds already from doing collages and stuff like that. You could also find some old books possibly, but of course before you use anything at home, make sure you ask your parents if you can use it for art first. Another good alternative is newspaper. You could use that. So just find whatever you have at home, and what we're going to do is we are just going to start finding some black and white imagery or words, okay? So we don't want anything with color, and I am just ripping some random pieces. There's no rhyme or reason to how to do this. We just want to make sure that it stays black and white, okay? It doesn't matter what it says either. Don't worry too much about that. This is cool because this is a black and white, so maybe I could pick this out and use this part in my background. We're using black and white for this part of our background because this part is what our onomatopoeia is actually going to be sitting on in our final artwork, and we want that to really pop off of the background. If we have a very colorful background, then our letters are going to kind of get lost in there. So let's focus on using black and white for this portion, and I am just going to start flipping through all of these pictures, and anything I see that is black and white, I can use. So a very popular choice is probably just a page with some words on it, a white page with black font, just like those are. I'm just keeping the pieces that I'm ripping out, the ones that I want to use in my background, in a nice neat pile off to the side so that I don't accidentally get them all mixed up and all this other stuff over here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip through all of these magazines and see what kind of black and white imagery I can find. And then I will be right back to show you the next step. I just started tearing out whole pages, any kind of cool texture that I liked, like this cool bathroom tile. I liked these words because they kind of look stitched into the paper. I liked this font right here. I can't use any of this colored stuff, but I can use the black and white things, like right here as well. I found some cute pictures of like little pastries in black and white. So really just look around in your magazines or your books, whatever you have that you're able to use today, and see what you can find. Like I found this really cool rug texture that's black and white. It doesn't have to just be words, it can also be different designs on your pages, whatever you want, as long as it's black and white, okay? So I have a bunch of options to choose from. And what I need to do is I am just going to take a brand new piece of paper, and the first thing, of course, I'm going to do is write my name on it. And then I am going to flip it over, so now my name is on the back. And the whole idea of this, it doesn't matter that there's stuff on my paper, because we're going to cover this entire piece of paper with our magazine black and white scraps. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start ripping these pieces up into interesting shapes, just like this. And I'm going to start gluing them down, okay? So we don't want giant pieces, we want kind of medium-sized pieces, and we don't want it all to be just the same page. So look through your different scraps of paper and start ripping. And this part is really fun because we're basically just ripping a bunch of paper and gluing it together to create a collage. And in the end, it's going to look really cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue these ones down. We're going to be layering these on top of one another. So I'm just going to paint some glue on just around the edges. We don't really need to put glue all in the middle, just around the edges, and then I'm going to just start gluing them down. And whenever I'm collaging, I like to line up the straight edges of the magazine paper with the straight edges of my paper, so it lines up really nicely and we don't have anything overhanging. But if you do have things that are hanging off the side, that is perfectly fine, because we are going to cut this collage piece of paper that we're making into a new shape later, so don't worry too much about that. What you need to worry about is that your whole entire paper is filled with different black and white torn magazine pages. Okay, so I am just placing these all around my paper right now and just gluing them down as I go on. Like I said earlier, there's no rhyme or reason to how to do this. It is whatever you like, whatever works for you. All I'm asking is that we're using black and white. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and glue down this first layer, and I'll be right back to show you what I'll do next. So I went ahead and I glued down my first layer, and if you just want to double check to make sure all of those are nice and glued down, flip your paper over, wiggle it just a little bit, do the wiggle test, and if nothing falls off, then you are good to go. I am still using my best craftsmanship and making sure all of my edges are laying down nice and flat. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue ripping up different pieces of black and white paper from my collection that I have over here. And I'm going to keep on gluing them down. And we are going to do this until our whole entire paper is covered. And after your first layer, we can start overlapping our pieces of paper. That means our paper is right on top of one another, kind of overlapping on the edges. So you can start doing that because our goal is to fill in all of this white space. So I am just going to go ahead and continue ripping my black and white magazine paper and gluing it down, starting to overlap them until I cover my whole entire paper, and I will be right back to show you what mine looks like. Also, I forgot to mention that we need to not do giant pieces of paper like this. That is way too big, okay? They should be, let's say, about palm size. That's the size that you're going for. If we do giant pieces like that, then it's not going to be as interesting as if we have a bunch of smaller pieces layered together. So make sure you're watching your sizing. This is way too big because it's bigger than my palm. However, this is a good size because it fits right in my palm. So make sure you're being mindful of that as well. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and continue collaging all of these pieces together until my paper is filled. I've almost finished my collage background, however, I still have a few more white spots where I can see my original paper showing through. And I wanted to come on here and tell you guys that you are probably going to have to fill these spaces in with smaller pieces because we don't want to fill them up with bigger, like palm-sized pieces like I was saying before. Like this is a good palm size, maybe a little bit smaller, but I start covering up all my other beautiful ripped pieces of paper here. So for this space especially is very small, so you want to do a lot smaller pieces than maybe you have been doing, like that. So as you fill up your paper, your pieces are probably going to get smaller and smaller just to fill in those little extra white spaces. All right, let me finish this up and I'll be right back. And here is my finished background, 100% done. I know I'm done when I cannot see any of that original white paper showing through. I've covered every single bit of that paper with more magazine paper, making sure to keep it black and white. Make sure you guys hold on to this, put it in a safe place, possibly with your onomatopoeia letters that we did last week, so that you are ready for next week. I hope you guys have a lot of fun creating this really cool collage background. I can't wait to see how yours turn out. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.